From KPRC2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
Anti-Semitism has already been a problem in the United States, and as we've seen a rise in the number of incidents in recent years. Now, after Israel is attacked by Hamas and is now fighting back, anti-Semitism incidents have surged even more, as the lines seem to be blurred between what is anti-state of Israel speech and hate speech. No matter how you look at it, it's been and continues to be a problem in America and right here at home. Good morning. Welcome to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined by Rabbi Brian Strauss from Congregation Beth Yeshurun. Good to see you, as always. This is a difficult time right now. Tell me, what kind of conversations are you having in your synagogue now about what's going on in the world right now as it relates to anti-Semitism?
Thanks again for having me, Khambrel. It's always a pleasure. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what's happening. And I think many people are concerned. You know, October 7th, 1,200 Israelis were murdered. Over 240 people were taken hostage. And you would think anti-Semitism would go down. Look at this horrific attack perpetrated by terrorists. And yet anti-Semitism has been up in this country alone by 400%. And so people are questioning, how could it be that we were attacked ruthlessly by terrorists who don't care about Jews and don't care about their own people, yet anti-Semitism is up? And so people are really concerned right now. We're seeing it primarily on college campuses, which is a big concern.
What kind of advice, words of comfort, do you give to the members of your synagogue about what's going on right now? Because they've been exposed to anti-Semitism for quite some time, and now that it's going up, it's just a different level.
Well, I remind them that a majority of Americans still support Israel. They understand what Israel's up against. I think most Jews, overwhelming majority of Jews, also understand what Palestinians are up against. They're up against a corrupt leadership that doesn't care if they die and doesn't care if Jews die. And what I tell my congregants as well is that, why are we seeing anti-Semitism go up on college campuses? We see an ideology, a false ideology, that tries to paint the world in the oppressed and the oppressor. And Israel is unfairly painted as the oppressor. First of all, the world's not that simple. You and I know that. There's no such thing as two categories, the oppressed and the oppressor. And it's too complicated of a problem to simply address the Middle East situation as a fight between the oppressed and the oppressor. It's a tragic situation that the Palestinians don't have a safe, democratic state. I mean, you know, like I do, Israel pulled out of Gaza in 2005. America and other Western powers, including Israel also, gave them money to create a democratic, prosperous, peaceful state. And yet Hamas took over 2 years later and created a mini Iran, where women don't have free, people that are part of the LGBTQ community don't have freedom, where Palestinians, good Palestinians, and most people in Gaza don't want war. I also cry when innocent children die in Gaza, but it's because of Hamas. And when Palestinians speak up, they get killed, they get arrested. And it's a tragic situation that terrorists are driving the narrative. So
you've gone on record early after the October 7th attack about the rights that Israel has to go after and destroy Hamas.
Absolutely.
That's what you said. And now you see that's been happening. And the optics of it just make it challenging. I mean, you may say that
of course.
Israel has a right to go and destroy Hamas, but in the meantime, lots of civilians are being injured and killed in the same time.
That's right.
The optics are not good on that side. You change about that, or you just say that's just the way it is because Hamas is responsible for it?
What I say is I wish, and I call upon my American Arab brothers and sisters, and some have called me, and I say, let's call upon Hamas to give up their fight, to give up their arms, to free the hostages, to free the Palestinian people, and it would be over tomorrow. I have to remind the world, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to remind the world that it's Hamas that is guilty for the dying of civilians. There would be no war. Israelis don't want to send their sons and daughters into Gaza to fight, to free hostages. You know, Hamas is holding babies, Holocaust survivors, children. Let them go. Free the Palestinian people of your terrorist reign, and no more Palestinians would have to die.
And so what's happening now all across the country, protests have been taking place on behalf of Palestinians, not Hamas. But there is, it's a challenge right now because they seem to blur the lines. The challenge is to make sure that Hamas is viewed as terrorists, but not Palestinians. And there is a definite difference there. How do you view the responsibility of Israel to help to not be responsible for killing so many civilians? Because right now, that blurs the line between Palestinians and Hamas. I mean, it really does.
Right, and that's exactly what Hamas wants. You know, there's an old cartoon, and you may have seen it before, where Israeli IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, stand in front of civilians to protect civilian lives, whether it's in parts of Gaza or in Israel. But the Hamas terrorists have civilians stand in front of them because they succeed in their propaganda war when Israelis die and when Palestinians die. And that's the tragedy of this situation. And Israel, I believe, and I know, is doing all they can to protect civilians in Gaza. But it is difficult. When you have Hamas tunnels underneath hospitals, when you have them underneath schools, when they store weapons in children's rooms, it is a very difficult situation. And I know Israel is a moral army that's doing all it can to try to protect civilians. But their number one priority is to free those hostages and to go after the terrorists that killed so many innocent people. I mean, remind you again, there are literally babies, there are 30 children being held in Gaza against their will. There's a Holocaust survivor. Imagine what she went through in the Holocaust, now being held in Gaza. They don't even allow the Red Cross to visit these hostages. Also, I want to remind you too, and you know this, I had the honor of going to Washington, D.C. on Tuesday. I was surrounded by 300,000 people on the National Mall, Jews and our allies, there to stand up for freedom, for Palestinians and for Jews, for Israelis, and to speak out against anti-Semitism. An overwhelming majority of Americans understand the fight Israel's up against. Yes, there's a small minority that speaks out against Israel. And I want to also remind people too, legitimate criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitism. I criticize our American government sometimes. There are policies I don't like our own government does. But when you get into the blur the lines and you say that the Jewish state doesn't have a right to exist, when you're an anti-Zionist, when you say the Jewish people don't have a right for self-determination in our ancient biblical homeland, then you are anti-Semitic. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Well, I'm hoping, you know, and we've talked a number of times through the years, I am an eternal optimist. I'm hopeful that things can get better. I know that you are as well. I hope that you'll come back and we'll talk about it, hopefully on the other side when things are improving.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I agree with you. The Jewish people have always survived. I think there's many, many Arabs and Palestinian brothers and sisters who also want peace. I think eventually there will be peace. I'll finish with two things. You know, one of Israel's best friends in Europe is right now? Germany. If I would have told you that 80 years ago, you never would have believed that. Right. So we never know what the future may hold. And the Jewish people have always brought light into this world. And we will continue to do so. And I've seen so many of my congregants who become even prouder Jews, more involved, and even more willing to do what they can to create peace in this world. So I know in the end things will get better.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, as always.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Rabbi Brian Strauss. Just ahead, we switch gears to politics in the local and national scenes. Runoffs are set for Houston races, and the surprising poll numbers nationally are putting a candidate with 91 felony charges in a good position to possibly win back the White House. What? We discuss when Houston Newsmakers continues. Okay, December 9th is a big day for Houston, the date of the runoffs to determine a number of top positions in the city. The mayor's race gets top billing, of course, with State Senator John Whitmire and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Senator Whitmire was the top vote getter on Election Day with 43%, and Congresswoman Jackson Lee with 34, almost 35%. That margin by Whitmire was larger than the polls predicted. Joining me this morning to talk about what we should expect going forward, Gary Pollan, former Harris County GOP chair and the editor of the Texas Conservative Review, and Dr. Mark Jones, political science fellow at the Baker Institute for Public Policy at Rice University. Good to see you both. Dr. Jones, the Hobby poll said that this first round that Whitmire was not going to win by as much. What do you account for the difference there?
Well, so we also had a part where we looked at the undecideds, and all of the undecideds were breaking far more to Whitmire and the minor candidates than Jackson Lee. The thing about the Congresswoman is that while she has a pretty high floor, about a third of the electorate loves her, she has a pretty low ceiling in that the rest of them do not. And I think we saw that on election night. Also, between when the poll was taken and when the election occurred, there was the unfortunate release of the audio of her berating with foul language of a younger staffer. And I think that probably hurt her a little bit.
So your sense of what happened in the initial round of voting and what's going to go forward?
I think that Professor Jones's analysis is spot on. For the runoff, though, that's an entirely different animal. And I cite you to history. You remember Senator David Dewhurst?
Yes.
In the Republican primary, he had 48% plus of the vote in the first round and ended up losing by like 5 or 6 points. Mm-hmm. You have Kathy Mintzberg, goes back a number of years, but she was at 48% for city council. Her closest competitor was down 10, and she ended up losing like 51 or 52, 48. So the number of votes that Congressman Lee got, that Senator Whitmire got, are more than enough to win the runoff. Turnout first round was 17%. I'm expecting this time it's going to be about 10 or less, which means either of them can win in the real race is about who can turn out their voters.
That's key, is it not? Because the turnout was just abysmal. Kind of what was expected, though.
Right, about a little over 250,000 people turned out. I think turnout will actually be a little higher for the runoff. But Whitmire, I think, is in a very good position to win as long as he can continue to maintain about a third of the Democratic vote, which he has, and he can ensure that Republicans turn out and to at least account for about a third of the voting public. I think he's a lock for victory. So I actually think that Whitmire is in a very good position to win on December 9th, with the real question being what his margin victory is going to be, as long as he gets Republicans to turn out.
So it looks like to me, when I look at what's going on, the real winner on Election Day was Harris County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth, because of what happened. Her running of the election process maybe went some distance to try to give some people more confidence in how the electoral process.
I give all the credit in the world to her. It was a major improvement over the appointed election administrator, and it should have never been done. That was a big mistake by the Democratic-led Commissioner's Court. But Tanisha should be praised for her outstanding work.
We have a controller race coming up as well. The same sort of thing. Hollins, ironically, was in charge of elections at one point during COVID, and now he's running for controller after he dropped out of the mayor's race. Your thoughts about his run against Orlando Sanchez?
I think that this is another race that could go either way, though I'd give Hollins the edge at this point because his margin in the first round was much more significant than Whitmire's. So we'll see what happens. Again, Professor Jones is right. Will Republicans turn out? That's a big question. I don't know that they will. The problem that John Whitmire has essentially is this. Look, he's a liberal Democrat. He's pro-law and order. He's pro-improving infrastructure. And infrastructure and law and order are things that Republicans are motivated to vote for. But he comes with the other baggage of a liberal Democrat. And so some Republicans may think, well, why should I bother? There's really not much a difference between he and Congresswoman Lee. So that becomes the question. Will they turn out? And it's close to Christmas, and it's a Saturday. Think about that.
Well, it always is when we have those runoffs.
It is.
You were saying, you're not buying that.
I know. I think Republicans, given the choice between Congresswoman Jackson Lee and Whitmire, will maybe not turn out to vote for Whitmire, but they will turn out to vote against Jackson Lee.
Okay. Well, we'll see what goes on with that. Let's talk about national politics. Latest polls indicate that former President Donald Trump is continuing to just beat the heck out of everybody else in the political landscape. I guess 91 indictments is not enough. So what's the deal with, what is it? You're the Republican. You're going to speak on behalf of all Republicans right now on why this.
All Republicans are not in agreement as to what should happen. There's obviously a division in the party of where we should go. But Trump has a solid base that has been there that will be with him regardless. They don't believe any of the bad stuff that's said. They don't believe the indictments. They think this is a deep state effort to go after Trump because he stands with us. Now, here are the facts. You look at his administration, there's some good things he did. There really are. There's some things that were very well done. His personnel policies, not so good because people come and went. When they left, they were trashed often, and they said they're not good. It's just, I think the optics of how Trump operates, that's what troubles me. I expect a president to try to act generally with class all the time, even though you can be tough. And I don't think we saw that with Trump. Though a lot of the people are so fed up with the federal government and how Washington operates that they respond to the rhetoric. So at this point, it looks like Trump will be the nominee. But if Trump gets convicted of something, I think that if you look at the polling numbers, it starts shifting.
So your thought on what's going on and what happens with Donald Trump and the impact of maybe a third-party candidate getting into the race?
Well, I agree that Trump is, barring mortality or health issues, will be the Republican nominee. Neither DeSantis or Haley have really been able to close the gap. A third-party option is always there. No Labels is certainly working on that. The difficulty for third-party movements is everyone starts off believing you have no chance whatsoever. So you have a vicious circle operating against you. You need to turn it into a virtuous circle that you actually have a realistic prospect of victory. And there really isn't much time to do that, even though polling data suggests there is diffuse support for a third-party candidate. There's a big difference or big gap between that diffuse support and turning it into a place on the ballot and actually winning electoral college seats and being the potential president.
So as we look ahead, optimism about this process going forward? Are you optimistic about where we're going to be? I'm asking you because you're Mr. Optimist. Somehow America seems to always muddle through. We not always may do the right thing the first time, but eventually we get there. I sure hope we do that. My concern, and we were talking before the show about Professor Jones' work in Argentina, which is a wonderful country with natural resources and great people, that's basically, it's just a disaster area in the economy and how it works. And my fear is that if we don't get our act together here, we have a $33 trillion deficit. We can't agree the sun's shining in Washington, and there needs to be give and take, and it's not just give the Democrats or give the Republicans everything they want, but actually work together and do things. And I remind you of the era of Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, who you couldn't have two more different people, polar opposites, and they were able to work together, and there was give and take, and we made progress, and the last time we had a balanced budget. Mr. Optimism. Gary Pollan, who would have thought? Gary Pollan, Dr. Mark Jones, thank you as always. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey, just ahead, we've got a local effort to elevate black businesses just in time for the holidays. We'll talk about Black Entrepreneurs Week. That's next. And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined by Philip Yates, the founder and CEO of Equilibrity Incorporated, and Sherry Green, who's a VP with Chase in the Community and Business Development Office. Thank you so much for being here. We're here to talk about Black Entrepreneurs Week. There's a lot going on. I looked at the list. There's a lot going on. This is bigger than last year. And how big was last year?
Last year, we had a few hundred people. And we had similar events where they were themed around the holiday celebration, celebrating uplifting Black entrepreneurs during the holiday season, helping to amplify their success, but also recognizing some of the gaps and trying to figure out ways, how do we increase revenue? How do we boost sales? And how do we make sure that they're on a wealth building path going into the new year?
And Sherry, I know that you and Chase is a partner with all of this. How important is this? Because I look at this, do we really need this? Is this something we really need right now?
Absolutely. We have so many entrepreneurs in the city of Houston, and we're really excited to be a partner with Philip Yates and Equilibrity for the third year. So Houston has been asking for ways to get more access to capital, ways to connect with resources, and Chase Bank is just an integral part of assisting in that effort.
So tell me, what's involved? What's going to be involved with the week? There's a lot going on. I've touched upon it for a little bit, but what's in there?
I'll quickly touch on it. So starting out on Small Business Saturday, we're having a black market where we'll have partners with Radio 1. We'll have DJs. We'll have over 200 vendors for you to come and shop and amplify and uplift Black entrepreneurs. Then we're going to church at Good Hope on Sunday with Pastor Cofield. And then after that, we'll have brunch at Culture with our friends at the Breakfast Club. And then we'll start off with Cyber Monday. We'll be interviewing different startup technology founders. Tuesday, uplifting Black philanthropy. So if you're a nonprofit, there'll be ways for you to learn how to unlock capital and grow your nonprofit. Recognizing women for Unlock Her Power. Thursday, invest in the culture, where we'll bring in different investors, real estate professionals, and others. And then we have a Black Tech Founders, Black Founders Day. But the highlight is the Black Wealth Summit, where we want to make sure that no matter where you're at in the wealth building process, we're going to have the key individuals, resources for you to build wealth.
So how important is it for you from the standpoint of where Chase, where you're sponsoring, one of the sponsors of this event, what do you hope to come out of this for the folks who come and take part?
I hope our entrepreneurs understand that there's so many resources that are accessible to them, not just through the bank, but also from other partners like the Houston Area Urban League, Dell Technologies, who's also a sponsor for the event. So we hope our entrepreneurs know that when they come to all 12 of the events that we have that week, there's going to be a significant amount of resources that we're going to give out. We don't want to spoil everything, but just register, sign up. You got to come out. You just have to.
Talk about that. What's the process to come, and who is the person who should come to this?
If you are an entrepreneur, you should be here. Hands down. And so you can go to www.blackentrepreneursweek.com. If you want to participate in a pitch competition, we'll be giving away $40,000. Repeat that, $40,000. If you're an entrepreneur, you register on the website, and that's an opportunity to go to the pitch competition, also participate in the Wealth Summit, and have a good time.
Yeah. Any cost?
No, and that's the beauty of it. Because of J.P. Morgan Chase's commitment, because of the Houston Area Urban League and the work they do in the community, and Dell Technologies, and a number of other supporters, this is free to the community.
So you're involved again. It sounds to me like this is something you're in for the long term.
I think so. And so this is probably our biggest year yet, with us having 12 events. The Black Wealth Summit is new. Yeah. Also, us amplifying the amount that we're giving out for the pitch competition. So I'm a big part of it. I want to meet every single individual who comes. Well,
I'm going to put all the information on Newsmakers page on click2houston.com, where everybody can find this. Good luck on this event coming up right around the corner. Before you know it, it'll be here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you for having us.
Hey, a look ahead to a very special Thanksgiving weekend on Newsmakers when Houston Newsmakers continues. So I hope you'll plan to join me next week when the program is all about giving for the Thanksgiving season. The Halliburton Charitable Foundation has given away $30 million in 30 years, helping more than 90 nonprofits this year. Dr. Ruth Simmons, former president at Prairie View, is not resting. We'll talk about her new book and how she hopes it will help students. And you'll meet a local woman who created a nonprofit so she could build a library in Ghana. The heartwarming story here next week. Thank you for your social media communications with me. You can follow me on your platforms at KPRC2 Khambrel, hashtag HOU Newsmakers, and you can send your stories to me through email as well at HoustonNewsmakers at click2houston.com. Thank you to my guest this morning and to you, of course, for watching. I look forward to seeing you back here again next week, and go Texans.